Well, it is Tuesday, and I am back in the office. I was in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania this morning representing a client at a preliminary hearing in Montgomery County that went very well. Had a good hearing with for our client, got some good questions off to the arresting officer, and set up the case well for the trial that's coming up. Remember that a preliminary hearing, oftentimes matters are held for trial, but that doesn't mean that necessarily it was a bad hearing for the defense. Oftentimes we use the hearing to collect information, possibly have charges downgraded or dismissed if possible, and that's what we're able to do this morning. So again, the case went very well. With that said, have come out with some blog articles recently regarding one, Deshaun Watson, and the other article that we came out with, which was very popular yesterday, was the one explaining airsoft rifles, pellet guns, aka BB guns, in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Remember that in Pennsylvania, those weapons, and I'll call them weapons, are legal. Yeah, if you you can purchase them at a sporting goods store in Pennsylvania if you are 18 years of age or older. If you're younger than that, you will need a parent, but you can purchase and carry that weapon in Pennsylvania. Now, a pellet gun doesn't shoot bullets, obviously. It shoots these pellets, and it uses air to do that. Now, in New Jersey, there's a big difference between New Jersey law and Pennsylvania law. In New Jersey, pellet BB guns, airsoft guns, air rifles are illegal if you don't have a permit to carry that particular weapon. Now, remember that in New Jersey, if you are stopped and the officer finds a firearm, you face a possible mandatory minimum 42-month state prison sentence. Now, New Jersey doesn't classify pellet guns quite egregiously. It is a third-degree crime as opposed to a crime of the second degree. And so you aren't going to face that mandatory minimum sentence, but it is still a very serious crime. It is a felony charge in New Jersey. So a lot of people, for whatever reason, have their pellet guns in their vehicle, and they're Pennsylvania residents, and perhaps they're going down the shore or to the beach, and they throw the gun in the back of the trunk and just think nothing of it. They're stopped for a vehicle stop, and the officer asks if there's anything in the vehicle, and the person, not thinking anything of it, just simply says, "Yes, officer, I do have my pellet gun in the back," and then you're off. Now, there's issues whether or not, how the officer found the gun, and I can get into illegal searches and seizure, but that's not really the point of that article. The point of the article is to explain the difference between a air gun in Pennsylvania versus New Jersey. I will link in that article to this blog. This vlog. In addition to that article, I have an article on Deshaun Watson explaining why I think that the judge, or the former federal judge, suspended him for 6 games, and the grand jury chose not to indict him, even though the burdens of proof are very similar. The burden of proof is on the state before a grand jury, and that burden of proof is prima facie, aka preponderance. And the former federal judge, Sue L. Robinson, indicated in her report that the NFL's burden of proof is preponderance. So very similar evidentiary standards. I truly believe the reason why Sue L. Robinson had to suspend Deshaun Watson, even though I believe that the evidence presented before the grand jury, if that was insufficient, and 23 people, 2 separate groups of citizens in Texas failed to indict Deshaun Watson, well, something is wrong with those cases, because the burden of proof, much like a preliminary hearing burden in Pennsylvania, Jersey doesn't have, and neither does Texas have preliminary hearings. They have grand juries. The burden of proof is so low not to indict someone. There's a saying, you can indict a ham sandwich, and that's because the burden is so low. If 2 separate grand juries did not indict Deshaun Watson, and now the federal judge is saying, well, there's enough evidence here to suspend him, I truly believe that, with all due respect to her, She's not independent. She's not impartial. She's being paid, and likely being paid very well, more money than she ever made, probably in her career as a judge, or probably even as a practicing lawyer. She's being paid well, and it's a position that she wants to keep. So she wasn't going to suspend him for no games, even if she believed that in a court of law, more than likely, he could have been acquitted in a criminal court of law and potentially found not liable in a civil law, in a civil court. A lot of these sports analysts who aren't lawyers simply say, well, there's a lot of them. And you know, it's a pretty improbable that 24 people could all scheme to go out to get Deshaun Watson. I disagree. When it comes to money and extortion and possibly extorting a NFL quarterback who's responsible for the offense of a team that could be responsible for gambling and all kinds of legal and illegal activities. I hate to say it, but yes, you can get 24 people to cook up a story. That can happen. That may sound, you know, just absolutely just ridiculous, but I mean, living in the criminal defense world, I can tell you it would shock many sports analysts and many quote-unquote NFL experts what people are willing to do for far less money than they make a year. You're talking about analysts who make millions of dollars a year, and for some reason find it hard to believe that people can be coerced to make up a story. Well, I can tell you that you can go into neighborhoods and offer people $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 to do some ridiculous, crazy things like kill people for less. So, you know, again, I'm not saying that happened in this case, but 2 grand juries failed to indict him, and I think that says a lot. So 6 games, I think it was an area where she knew that she wasn't going to lose her job, and that was a safe. It was a safe suspension that would somewhat please everyone. And she did her best to do that, and I think she will keep her position. The NFL may increase the suspension to 8 games, but I don't think it really matters. And as far as the fine, again, I don't think it really matters whether it's no fine or a couple $1 million. Again, I mean, when a person is guaranteed $230 million, a $5 million fine is absolutely nothing. So at the end of the day, I think that the judge made the decision based on pressure, not necessarily the evidence. And I think the evidence, given the fact that 2 independent grand juries who weren't paid by anybody, didn't find enough when they had nothing but a prosecutor in the room, again, who has no interest in the case whatsoever in terms of the NFL. He or she couldn't get that case to go to trial. That says a lot. But if you have questions about guns in Pennsylvania, guns in New Jersey, pellet guns, the legality of those guns, please give us a call. 215-755-9000 in Pennsylvania, 856-793-7429 in New Jersey, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, website gambonelaw.com. As always, just a tremendous resource for you and your family. All my books, my blogs, my videos are available there in one convenient format. Get your legal strategy from lawyers, not sports analysts or sports writers. I'm not saying they're not educated people. They are, but they're not attorneys. So I hate to use this phrase, but stick to sports. There are legal processes that if you're not familiar with the legal system in the sense that you're not a lawyer, you really shouldn't comment on how a former federal judge who was an attorney many years before that came to her decision, because quite frankly, this isn't football. This isn't baseball. We're not analyzing an offense or defense. This is the legal process. And yes, judges do use things like precedent and prior decisions to make their decisions. So again, I think what she did was simply do what she was paid to do. And that's what judges do every day, make decisions based on prior case law, statutes, and how those statutes and case law have been interpreted. So once again, if you have questions, 215-755-9000 in Pennsylvania, 856-793-7429 in New Jersey, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Have a great Tuesday, and I'll talk to you all very soon.